Hello everyone and welcome to Be Free, Bare Bones Basics. A series is all about teaching how to play the thinking game with fighting games. And today's episode is Risk Reward. So to start, a definition: risk reward is a measure of how much risk a move has compared to its reward. So an easy example is something like Ryu's Heavy Kitatsu from neutral. Heavy Kitatsu is extremely minus on block, around minus 13, allowing so much of the cast to get a max damage punish from a standing state, doing a lot of damage, giving him lots of Oki, and leaving Ryu in a terrible position. It also whiffs on crouching opponents. As such, this can allow for big whiff punishes from a lot of the cast as well, for even more damage from a standing state. But we can't just focus on the risk, we have to focus on the reward as well. So we'll take a look at the reward. The reward is a knockdown that's kind of okay, leaves him +5, which then sets up a throw, shimmy, frame trap, meaty, mix-up. A lot of things go into it. And there's an okay amount of damage and an okay amount of stun. So the risk reward is more skewed towards the high risk, low reward, the situation from neutral. Of course, in the combo, it's a much better option, gives you quite a bit of damage, sets you up. But from neutral, Ryu's Hagitatsu, not a great risk-reward option, not something you should be doing neutral. So, that's a pretty easy to understand description. It seems pretty simple, right? Frame data, damage, stun, knockdowns. Seems pretty easy, right? How easy it is to whiff punish? There's a bit more to it than that. So let's take a look at something a bit more ambiguous. Like, say, Ryu's Hadouken. Ryu's Hadouken is of varying frame data, but around point blank it is -6 on block, allowing a lot of the cast to get a nice punish. However, the beauty of Ryu's Hadouken is that it gets less minus the further you are away. As the Hadouken travels across the screen, this may seem very intuitive to some people at home, but it's good to get across how Hadoukens work. So, Fireball, right? Controls a lot of space, can bait people into jumping, can bait people into going for a projectile invincible move. And from some spacings, you can set up a Fireball trap. You can just toss Hadoukens all day. Hadouken, 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 and then they jump and you Shoryuken, right? Pretty simple game plan. Its reward on hit and on block is pretty average. You know, there's a tiny bit of chip. Doesn't do any stun on block, as it shouldn't. Does it cause a knockdown at all? But the main goal of it is to control space. And the risk of throwing this is that at point blank you can get punished normally. At certain ranges you can get punished by a projectile invincible move on reaction by some characters, like say Ken's Heavy Punch DP or his V-Trigger 2 Shinryuken. Use a projectile invincibility to blow through those Hadoukens. Also, the risk is that you can get jumped in on while you're tossing Hadoukens. So, the risk you're taking is that you're going to take a big jump in damage, take a consistent around 60 to 80 damage from a projectile invincible move, lead to Oki or a mix-up situation. But the reward is a massive amount of neutral control. So the idea is control. Hadouken can be seen as an extended poke. Pokes help provide space, help set people into more advantageous positions. Ryu is a Zona-esque character, and you can stay on this range, bring his poke away with his Hadouken, make it hard for your opponent to get anything done. If you want to take a risk, you can Hadouken on them. Or Shoryuken on them. So we've added an extra layer to this reward. It's no longer just damage, stun, knockdown, mix-ups you get off of it, or how punishable it is on block, or how it's, or just its properties. You need to add in the space it controls and what you're using it for. Because Ryu's Hadouken is a very versatile move. Controls space, set up spacing traps, forces your opponent to act or allow Ryu to move in. It's a very versatile move that can be quite difficult for someone to understand the risk reward, because a new player may just think, Hadouken? Fucking sick! I throw it, and they do damage, and I can hit people from full screen, and then they get jumped in on, and they're reminded that, why would I do this? This doesn't do much damage, doesn't do much stun, doesn't give me a knockdown, and the opponent just keeps jumping at me. You need to add in the reason why you're using it, the space it controls, the damage, the stun, the punishability. There's a lot that goes into each move. We've gone over specials, let's talk about normals. Overheads are extremely punishable on block. around -7 to -6, depending on the character. Some of you have -2 overheads, but usually left at disadvantage where your opponent can take a turn or at least punish. It doesn't give much reward on hits either, only doing around 60 damage for each overhead in the game. Some characters with comboable overheads can get more, but for most of the cast, there's a small amount of damage from an overhead. Doesn't leave them that close. They usually get a frame trap and that's about it. So, why would you ever use this? Well, overheads don't really control much space. We're not really going to be using neutral. We don't cause a knockdown. But, in pressure, your opponent's likely to be down backing a lot. As you're holding down back, and they're likely to be like, well, I'm just taking overhead after overhead after overhead because I just want to block low. Because blocking low blocks most normals in this game. Can't do much. Some specials with, some normals with. Crouching is a pretty nice state to be in. They can only get tossed. So an overhead can promote your opponent to start walking back. So now we've added another layer to this risk reward. Not just damage, not just stun, not just knockdowns. But also conditioning. You condition your opponent to not want to block low anymore because I've took so many fucking overheads. Please stop overheading me, oh god! But it's still a risk. So it's, in terms of on hit, on block, vulnerability, damage, its risk reward's pretty low. It's a high risk for a low reward, seeing as though it's reactable. But you're now getting your opponent to have to pay attention to more options. This isn't like a hard kick Tatsu, where it's just, it might hit, but it's unlikely to. It's not really going to catch your opponent blocking high or blocking low. So by doing these overheads, you're now promoting your opponent to block high like this. And once you start blocking high, you start going for lows. And you see now that the overhead has found its use. And although it's a high risk, mediocre to low reward option, you're promoting your opponent to start taking over options or having to split more of their view of their reactions to deal with this overhead during pressure to avoid getting caught low and caught high. But that goes for overheads and lows. What about just like pokes, like normals in neutral? For example, like Ryu's not a character known for his amazing pokes. Like crouching medium kick on Ryu, it's pretty easy to understand. It hits low, has far reach, can cancel into Hadouken and still be pretty safe. Very hard to deal with. The low hits confirmable into some tattoos at certain ranges. It's nice to see. Controls quite a bit of space. Once again, low, cancelable. Has a lot of uses. But what about something a bit more niche, like Solar Plexus? Solar Plexus is around -2. Controls a hell of a lot of space, but leaves you minus. And this is sort of a risk. You can't just be throwing this out in neutral. But what it can be used as is a way to deal with an opponent whiffing buttons. A whiff punish button. It may not have much use as a poke, as at some spacings you can be left -6 and even more punishable than you normally would. As its space as a frame trap tool because it's very slow and it's of -2. Its reward on hit is good, its reward on block is not so great. But what you can do is, let's say my opponent is doing stuff like, I don't know, let's say a standing medium punch. They're trying to say a turn of standing medium punch once my turn is over because I'm poking them at the end. And I want to be able to deal with that. I want to be able to counter poke that. Well, I could go for a Solar Plexus during my pressure. Solar Plexus will whiff punish them and give you a big chunky combo into a knockdown into some mix-ups. The use of it can be found in whiff punishes and spacing traps, where it is a nice use. It moves in forward, so it's unlikely to whiff at close ranges where you've been normally pressuring. And even if they block it, you're left pretty safe and pretty well spaced, so it's hard for your opponent to take a turn to begin with. So you can start backdashing, you can just block, you stay pretty safe around the situation. And most of the times when you'll be doing this, you'll be left at a range where a throw won't reach, and that -2 situation is not as scary as it normally would be. So what I'm trying to get you to do is start thinking about why you're using a button. Why would you throw Hadouken? The risk reward is more than just the damage, it's more than just the space control, it's the reason why you're doing it. All of these add together add up to the risk reward of each move in a situation. So we've covered risk reward in neutral, how about on defense as another player? So easiest thing I can think of is that if you've not watched it already, learn how to delay tech. So delay tech is a pretty safe option against people like chick throwing. They will press throw while they're blocking, delay it enough so that the next normal thrown out will not catch the delayed throw tech. Now in the training room, it can be very difficult to set up a delay tech. As delaying after some normals is not really possible. But as you can see, he's not getting counted, so we'll assume that he's blocking everything. So he's teching, I do it, I try and tick throw. And if I set the guards moving correctly, he will block the normal and take the throw. With the right delay, of course. Setting up this in training room is not the easiest. It's easy to do with another player. So he's delay teching, right? He's teching the throw, and normally he wouldn't get caught by the normal. So on defense, you'd think like, okay, this is a pretty safe option. Like he needs to take some risks. He needs to start going for bigger frame traps. He start leaving bigger gaps to try and catch my throw. Well, your opponent can take a much less risk by walking backwards and trying to catch a delay throw tech by just walking back outside your throw range and whiff punches. Now, you've added the risking. The risk is you take a shimmy. Now, on defense, it's good to know what the risk you're taking entails. So by delay teching, you're avoiding taking a throw. A throw does about 130 damage, 150 stun, and for most of the cast, has no follow-up that could lead to another 50-50 situation. Like after reuse, I can't really throw you from there. Even with a small walk forward, I'm just still out of range. Some characters like Nakali during V-Trigger can still get throw key, or Colleen during V-Trigger 2 can still get that sort of throw situation by taking the throw. Is now they're almost on par with Shimmy, but I'm going to show you why the throw is much better than the Shimmy. So the Shimmy, yeah, the throw is much better than the Shimmy. If you walk out of range, you see how I am walking back, doing that thing, I get 159 damage and 235 stun. How much damage and stun does reuse throw do? 130 and 150. So you're doing a good 29 damage more, as well as another 75 stun. So for every shimmy, you're doing quite a bit more damage than the throw would do. As such, maybe better take a throw. So you're taking throws, you're just taking throw. Throw. Now on defense, this is where it gets a bit iffy, because you need to start taking these risks like a delay tech in order to stop taking these throws and move back to a neutral position. When neither player's at the advantage, neither player can really do much, you have to take bigger risks like going for heavies. So now on defense, we're in delay tech, where it's a bit of more of a risk. And the rewards you go back to neutral. But taking throws is a lot less risk, but the reward on taking the throw is not. And reward taking the throw is not as good, because now your opponent puts you in a knockdown. They're left plus. They do guaranteed damage, and you're just all in all having a bad time. So you need to balance your options. You can't stick too much to one. You need to understand your opponent's tendencies. The risk reward on defense is all about understanding when the risk will be valuable and how your opponent plays. There's a no cover all in Street Fighter 5. I can't go in and know exactly how my opponent's going to play, and I can't do a crouch tech OS where I get like a crouch alley kick out, or I delay and I get like a red focus. We don't have a billion option select. You have 1 or 4 that can work interchangeably, and some get beaten by the same options. So it's all about understanding in neutral and offense how your opponent will respond to it, what you're using it for damage, the stun, the spacing. There's never going to be a move with 0 risk and tons of reward. There's always a risk no matter what. Even if it's like high reward, low risk, there's still a tiny bit of a risk there. And that's usually because you're on the back foot and you took pressure is the reason why you are in a high reward, low risk situation for your opponents. On defense, we've gone over that you should be able to try and spot your opponent's tendencies, whether they're throwing you a lot, whether they're trying to shimmy too much, and picking your options accordingly. If they're shimmying, you can press buttons and that can catch their shimmy. As they're moving backwards, you try and catch them low with crouch MK. But it's all about mixing up your options to deal with the other person's options, as well as understanding when would be a good idea, and understanding what tools would work best in what situation. I hope this has helped. If it has, do let me know. I'm going to cover anything new. Post it in the comments. There's a link to new Challenger Discord in the description. The Balrog Discord as well. Highly recommend if you're a Balrog player and want to learn about Balrog. Check out my other videos if you're a Balrog player or just want to learn about matchups. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time.